we were doing The Godfather, and you were given the role of Don Corleone. Like, you wouldn't try to
not want them to look at Marlon Brando.
Okay,
perform that. I would advise. In fact, whenever I've done a play, I've told them, please don't look at the film. Don't look at the motion picture of this, because you will go right down the hill. Let the role come from yourself, because the writing is usually, in most classics, so good that the character comes to life in your mind, and you go with it. Now, in films like Marlon Brando's Godfather, there are a few that have been so popular that it is indeed possible that the image has to become somewhat in that realm. But my opinion is that if you, Phil, take on the role of Don Corleone, and if you know your situation, your life, and if you allow yourself the freedom of never having seen Sinatra in the film or being able to disregard him, to ignore him and let it come from you, you will then, when you're in that role, will be so believable that the situation itself will cause me, the viewer, to be caught up in your situation. I'm not going to be thinking, oh, gee, I wish he looked like Marlon Brando. Because I'll be involved with you, and I won't be thinking of Marlon Brando, you see? And that's the important thing, is to be so believable that you involve the observer in the situation. Because you're a human being on stage in a situation, and then we as observers become very interested in what is happening, and we want to know how you're going to continue with your life, whether you will succeed in achieving your objectives or not. And we're caught up in it. We're not out there comparing, unless you stop being yourself, in which case we'll be oh boy, I wish I could see Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
You know, so when they lose interest in what you're doing, then it will become destructive. So I try very hard to avoid having them do that.
Just a quick follow-up on that.
Yeah.
In the case of an a biographical character, somebody, say John F. Kennedy, if you are portraying John F. Kennedy in a role,
then you can study, then you should study John F. Kennedy. And his life, his manner, his personality, character, situation, everything about him. And yes, try to, because as I mentioned earlier, each one of us supposedly could play 1,000 variations of ourselves. And I've always said to our people, there but for the grace of God go I. You could be John Kennedy. You know, nothing could have stopped the possibility of you being John Kennedy. So, because he's a male, he's a human being, and so, bingo.
So when studying a role, we have to take into consideration a fictional character or a non-fictional character.
It depends. If it's a Hamlet, you become a Hamlet, and Shakespeare indicates that he's a Norseman, and so if you can find a blonde, it's funny, when I first got to the school in Westport, a student in my classroom with blonde hair and blue eyes was a wonderful actor. He made me think of doing Hamlet. And for God's sakes, I cast him, and he was a better Hamlet than I could ever conceive anywhere in the world. And interestingly enough, because Hamlet was a student, whenever I saw him walking the campus, I saw Hamlet. And it was a remarkable production because of him and the people cast with him. The Polonius, who was the father of the Laertes, should be in his 60s, late 50s or 60s. The young man who played his role in rehearsals without makeup looked 50, 60 years old.
Wow.
Because attitude will do that. He was developing an attitude of a believable nature, and he was Polonius. At that, and interestingly enough, he had slightly receding hair at that age as a student, 18 years old. And so with his demeanor, he took on the features of a Polonius 50, 60 years of age, without makeup. That happens. See, I'm a believer that living the role will make you look and feel, behave like the character.